Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
So here we are again for another birthday special, as tradition.
Is it my birthday?
No, it's mine.
Oh, how old are you turning now?
Can't possibly say.
I thought that was only women that couldn't say their age.
In 30s, but...
Not late 30s yet, no.
No, not quite. Not quite there yet. But, as is tradition, we do a special episode where we cover 3 different films. One that neither of us have seen, one that I've seen but you haven't seen, and then one we've both seen and want to talk about.
Yeah.
So, choices this time, as you might have gathered, the titles are Petite Mamman,
Mama.
Tenacious D in the Pick of Destiny, and Coraline.
Oh, Coraline. Huh?
Which was a patron vote. I gave them the option for that one.
We had a tiebreaker, didn't we? So, and then we were a little bit like, oh, we've never actually had a tiebreaker. What do we do when we have a tiebreaker? And because it's Birthday Boy.
Choice. Yeah, gets to pick, I guess. I get in that situation, I guess it would be the same if it was for your birthday. But I don't think we've ever really had it where we've had to do a tiebreaker and go, right, well, I think it really should be Sophie's choice, I think, for going forward in those. It is a movie, which I think I got a DVD of somewhere rattling around, and I think we should cover that at some point. But,
yeah, I like the fact that it's called Sophie.
Yeah. But we're going to start with Petite Mamman, which is a very short film. What are you laughing at?
Petite Mamman? The way you say?
I'm trying to do it in French.
Did you pass your French class?
No.
For GCSE, no?
No, of course I didn't, no.
Do you not?
No, just it's one of those compulsory ones.
Paul.
The title means little mother or mom or however you want to pronounce.
Yeah, it's like her petit pois.
Yeah, kind of, yeah, I guess.
Small p.
Yeah, that's right.
Throwing you off there, aren't I?
So I wanted to see this for a while, and I thought, it's just a nice and short one. It should be better than this. And I'd heard it kind of had a simple, very almost simple storyline where there was no like real threat of danger or anything too sad. I'd heard it been compared to in the way that My Neighbor Totoro is, where there's things happen, but there's not any real like peril or the story moves along, but in a really simple way, and it's like it's quite nice and light-hearted, and
it touches you though in the way of touching about death. I feel within this film,
tackling death, yeah.
And you never actually see anyone dying or passing on, or but the implication is there,
yeah.
And I think it's kind of showing you grief within this film. I feel like grief is heavily profound within it, and how people cope, and ages as well, like the age range you are when grief hits you. The younger you are, the better off you are, I think.
Yeah, because you don't really fully comprehend what's going on, sort of.
And as well, your attention span to life in itself. Like, 1 minute, Granny's there, the next minute she's not, and you don't really actually realise
what happened.
I'm never going to see her again. That kind of fatality never kind of enters your head. I think it's only when you grow older that starts to become more daunting and scarier.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Obviously, it's maybe slightly different with animals, really, because obviously, like I say, a kid plays with a dog all the time, and then suddenly it's no longer around. Whereas grandparents, you don't see them as well, especially if they live somewhere far away or they don't
live with you.
I
think it's when you see somebody daily that makes a massive impact on you. And it's opening up the scene where the little girl is like the mother's emotional support.
Yes, that's really sweet and endearing.
I actually saw a little bit of myself in this because I know as a family we've gone through quite a lot, and I think when I was a little girl, I used to be there for my mum a lot without me actually realising what I did. Only by watching this film, certain things kind of from an adult perspective clicked into place for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when you realise actually, yeah, a child is quite intuitive and clever to understand what somebody needs.
Yeah, yeah.
And they're so selfless in their act.
Absolutely, yeah.
And they don't really realise what they're doing. They just think, oh, well, she needs to drink.
Yeah, simplest affection.
Mm.
And that's, so it's like, oh, it's really cute. And it's like, oh, bless you kind of thing. And it's really
sweet and endearing. Yeah. And I think I've noticed as I've got older, my innocence has gone a little bit. People probably think, are you actually kidding me, Sophie? You're still very naive. But I used to be a lot more innocent and naive and sweet. And I think sometimes your older self becomes a bit more bitter and twisted. Even if it is, I still seem happy and go lucky, it still gets...
Life gets under your skin sometimes.
And I think that's how the mum's feeling, because she's, from what I've gathered, has lost her mum.
Yeah. Like the very opening scene, you see the 8-year-old Nellie saying au revoir to all these people in the retirement home.
Mm.
And then she's going to each room, au revoir, and then gets to an empty room. I think setting the tone of like, a grandma is there, the mum's there in the room, and obviously like, looking out the window and kind of feeling sad of everything. But this film really touched a nerve with me. I thought it might do, especially as I sort of vaguely knew what it was about. I tried to go in without knowing a great deal about it, although it was like a very simplistic story and told very well, might add. But
and shortly.
By that. But I kind of thought, assuming by the title, it was going to something to do with the mother thing, but I didn't know how much it would play into that. So I thought that you would probably connect with this film quite strong, because obviously you've got a strong connection with your mum anyway. So
I do, and I think I've always been there for her, and she's always been there for me. And I think you get two aspects of this.
Mm-hmm.
You get to, and I think this is what touched me the most, was me be the adult and lose your mum, who is a grandma,
right?
And how she was feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and obviously having Nellie as an 8-year-old daughter, trying to put on that brave face when actually all you want to do is break down and cry because you've just lost your mum.
Yeah, it's so strong with the kids kind of thing, yeah.
And then at the same time, Nellie knowing that her mum is just putting on a brave face, because children aren't daft.
No.
They're not stupid. And her being like, I'm going to have to do and be a good girl and do everything my mum wants and be there for her as much as I possibly can be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when Nellie's like, oh, well, I want to see where you build.
Yeah. Because they obviously have to go back to the grandma's where her mum grew up, and
that must be so like that's. I think that would be like the equivalent of, because you have a family home where you've kind of grown up with your parents. I know obviously you weren't there, but for the majority of your life, your parents are still living in that family home, and then for your parents to no longer be there.
Yeah, that house, and then
and
at
that
back
house,
and then be like, sort of memories and stuff. Yeah.
Whereas I don't think I really have that as such, really, to be fair, because we've moved quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think that would be the equivalent.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And your parents are not there telling you what to do. You're just having to go through, rifle all their stuff, and it brings back a flood of memories.
I'm obviously for a long time what happened, but I'm not really looking forward to having to deal with all that kind of burden of sorting out selling the house and all that, getting not rid of, but like, where's all the possessions going to go and all that kind of stuff. So obviously that's what they're having to deal with that. But Nellie's like, I want to see where you grew up, Mum.
Yeah.
And what you did when playing in the woods and all that kind of stuff.
And I think this is the fascinating concept of this film. And for me, because I'm so close to my mum, it was like the thought of seeing, well, me as an 8-year-old self, because I can't remember how I was 8 years old. Yeah. 8 years old. I'd love to find a picture just to see what did I look like.
But Yeah, and that kind of may invoke some memories if you look back. Like, I remember going to that playground or something like that. You might have something, but it's very obviously as you get older, you kind of forget certain things of the past, and I'm like.
And I'd love to see an 8-year-old version of my mum and me
together. So that's what the crux of the film is really, that she kind of like stumbles almost like this time distortion essentially into like, oh, there's some kid playing in the woods, and I'm going to see it, and he realizes. Oh, it's quite quickly that it's her mum as a young...
I twigged on a lot sooner than the film was portraying, because I was like, they do look alike. They're both little actresses.
Oh, yeah, no, they're really good. Yeah, so they are actually sisters in the film, because when it's in the credits, that's what they were. So, and I think they did a pretty good job, actually.
They really did. Kids. And I think they tugged on my heartstrings even more, because they built this relationship that they had, and I think the core of this is her mum has to step away, and her mum's not doing that to hurt Nellie.
Oh, no, yeah, she's kind of out of the picture for quite a while for all the film. That almost feels like it's a I've gone back in time type of thing, almost. And then once it's all resolved, she goes away.
Yeah.
Then she comes back to...
I think she's gone back to her roots and gone back to her childhood, and she just needs that... Her mum needs that step away, because she can't be strong for Nellie at this point in time. So
it's sort of like a metaphorical way, but in a actually bringing it to into existence type of thing at the same time.
It's just beautifully done, like the fact that I'd love to see my 8-year-old mum. I think she'd be really cool, and I think she'd be more sassy than me, and I think I'd really look up to her and be like, oh, she's the best and all of that. And I feel like the thought of it is just a wonderful, sweet, endearing little thing that they capture.
No, absolutely. I think that's definitely what the film is going for. It does pretty well. I obviously like things like the scenes where they're kind of just making food in the kitchen or making like the syrup.
It just made you want to be a child again, didn't it? The simplisticness of the way that they role played, like actually just playing, but.
Like pretending to be adults in like a drama or something kind of thing.
Well, it felt like a bit of an LA noir kind of scene where like there's an inspector and
you can't be here type of thing.
Yeah. And I think it was quite funny that Nellie was always the boy dressed up, and the mum was always like in a feminine role. And it was just, I don't know, the creativity of when you were a little kid.
Yeah, you can build up those. Yeah.
Your inner child somehow gets squandered when you get older. Like, I remember when I was little, I used to be in the garden. I would get my mum's pans. I would pop off all the dandelions. I'd put them in a pan, and I would make dandelion and burdock in my pan. There was this little a tree being cut down.
Tree stump, yeah.
Yeah, my pan would go on there. That was the stove.
Right, yeah.
And I'd have a wooden spoon or a stick, depending on what I could find. And I would just be bashing, basically, dead dandelions in my mum's pan.
Right.
But in my head...
You're doing it. And it's just like you have with the little toys and stuff you have for
I was so imaginative. I used to... Oh, I don't know how my mum coped for me. I would empty all her cupboards, and I would stack the shelves with tins of beans, carrots, and then my sister would go shopping around the kitchen, and I was the lady with the little cashier machine.
Yeah, ringing it up, yeah.
It won't but I would ring it up going beep, beep.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's a toy now that you have to buy all of the shopping cartons and stuff to do that. Whereas I was just being imaginative and go, okay, I've got the cash machine. I'm just going to use my mum's actual food to go shopping.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you kind of get here with the way that they play, the way that they're in the woods. They're adulty, but at the same time, they're just so raw and innocent, and it just... I feel like you don't value being a child when you're a child. You hate it because you just feel like you've got no freedom, you squandered, and you just feel like...
I think at a certain age, I don't know about... Maybe it's when you're in your teens, like, oh, I want to get out of here.
But
you're
also,
not cool
I think
anymore,
you get sick of your parents telling you what to do. Even when you're little, you're like, well, I want to do that.
I want to stay up late and stuff.
And you can't wait to grow up. Like, I remember playing schools, for example, being a teenager, having my own locker, because I used to watch Saved by the Bell, which used to be in my banisters.
Right.
I used to love the thought of having my own handbag and some keys, and now I always forget my keys and never bring them with me because I rely on you.
Yeah.
So it just shows how being an adult versus a child as well within this film. So for me, it touched on many different levels of how I was as a child, how I'd feel now losing my mum or my family, and how would I react to having to put a brave face on, and the thought of meeting my mum, even now, like the thought of my little mum being like my age and meeting her.
You mean?
Like
it's
30s.
discussed. Yeah.
And
okay. Yeah, how that would work. I don't know if it would have the same impact as such. I think it's
it
more.
won't be as innocent and raw, but at the same time, I feel like there's so many questions you'd want to ask your mum and you just don't ask them. And I feel like if they're similar age, I feel like you get to
more raw information, sort of based on.
It is absolutely stunningly beautiful. This film, I really enjoyed it for you.
It obviously sounds like that wasn't the intention, but I think it sounds like you definitely resonated with it a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like I'm not going, no, because I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy watching them for my pick and stuff. Obviously, obviously I picked out. I wanted to watch it, but it sounds like you got a lot out of the film on a personal level. I think, I guess, really. No, you're right. It's very visually pleasing as well. Kind of just the instance of just being in the woods and just all the the little homestead they've got. And all
it
feels
that kind of just cozy when you're watching it, and I feel like it's autumnally themed.
Feels that way, yeah. In a certain
which
aspect.
Is a win-win for me because I absolutely love autumn. Saw some boots coming in this. I know, obviously they're in July, but I can see the autumnal things coming in already. And I'm already getting excited for it. I think it's quite strange that obviously the mum's name's Marion as well, so it does feel like an old name for a young person. Yeah. Obviously, growing up, Marion seems like a fairly. I think we've been watching as well a TV program called
Outnumbered.
Yeah, and there's Karen, and obviously your mum's called Karen. So I always associate Karen with your mum's age.
Yeah.
Not a little girl, but I know it sounds daft because Karen was actually at one point a little girl.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so I'd say the same way, obviously it's not quite the same, obviously like son to mother, it's not quite the same. But obviously it'd be like what mum was like when she was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Or that kind of thing.
Just to see how they actually developed as a person and grown.
Yeah.
To where they are.
It's an interesting concept of like how would you, but and obviously you'd have similar traits because you came from them, so they had your genes from that. So,
and I think as well for you in that concept, that would be a lovely thought because you'd actually probably get to see your grandparents.
Yeah, because when I don't remember a great deal. I was very young when my mum's grandparents passed away. I only have a photograph to sort of really remember, like, oh yeah, I kind of obviously sort of vaguely remember, oh, that's, a visual thing because I was sat with them on a bench, so I was clearly there then. But other than the sort of vagueness of how there was a sort of kerfuffle of sorts when something bad happened, I don't really go into it because I don't want to get upset about it. But there's not much more to go on for that in terms of what how they were really. I don't remember any like conversations and stuff. Obviously, very very young. But
I think that's the same with me. Even though I had my granny for longer,
you
just don't remember as much. And I think that's one of those things where this moment where she actually gets to say goodbye to her grandma again in this.
Yes, yeah, technically, yeah, because she sees grandma when she's not as old. Yeah, like a mum's age type of thing. But she's obviously got that condition that she's got with she's like the walking stick.
And then mum's going in for this operation because it's hereditary.
She don't want the same thing that you have, so you got to go for that. Yeah,
and she's scared, and yet again, Nellie being obviously kind of the consoling, compassionate character that she is, she's like, oh well, you're my mum, so clearly you survived because you're still alive
it's
now.
Not like I'm disappearing or anything like that. There'd be any weird stuff like that because that could have gone that way or something like that. So everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, and I think she's just that reassuring soul to Marion at that point, which makes me wonder, like, if Marion remembers any of that, or if it's all Nellie.
I feel like at the very end, it's kind of like she almost did as if like time was changed slightly because she kind of, I think it was at the very end where it's like, oh, Marion, and then she's like, oh, Nellie, and then they kind of just hug and embrace as if she's like, oh, I know, yeah, that did happen, even if for that brief moment or whatever. But There was a line that came up which said, like, you didn't invent my sadness. Like, as if, I think that was the point when they were both 8 years old, weren't they?
Yeah, because I think the mum had Nellie quite young.
Yeah.
And I think so, Nellie always thinks it's her fault
that she is sad and mentally depressed or whatever.
But I think it's probably knowing her mum has got an internal illness that's not curable anymore.
So it's kind of almost like a looking back. Here's the reason why I am the way I am in a way that
it's like
trauma in quotation marks.
Because she didn't have a mum. Nellie has a mum where she's healthy, she's fit, and able to kind of
because of the operation.
Yeah, and then obviously seeing what Marian's had to deal with her mum at a young age with a walking stick
and not really as curable or whatever, that kind of stuff.
But I think it was lovely that she wanted to spend her birthday with her younger mum.
Yeah.
Before she went and she was there and baking cakes and pancakes and all of that. I think actually she was 23 years old when she had Nellie. I know that sounds daft and I know you can have children younger, but still 23 years old you are pretty much still. You're a child, you haven't got any crap together, have you? Like, you've just come out of uni or you've just gone into a job. You've not got much of a wage, you won't have a house. It's hard.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you've got a child on the way and you're like, what the hell am I doing?
The only other thing I'll touch upon is the fact that, like, obviously the father is kind of having to be around for Nellie.
He's a bit of a spare peg, isn't he, though?
Yeah, really. He's kind of not much involvement, but he's obviously got to be there, obviously, where mum's out of the picture, in a sense. So there's got to be some
adult
guardian to be looking out for. But initially, we were kind of like, I'm guessing they were. It almost was a brother and sister, or something in a way, but then it was like, he's the daddy. Maybe they separated or something. It wasn't clear that there wasn't really like a loving, bye honey, kiss you on the cheek.
It wasn't really an endearing situation. I don't feel like Nellie was that close to her dad either.
Yeah, so I'm lumbered with you, kind of.
Yeah. And not mean this in a horrible way to my dad, but with your parents being separated, you do feel like that as a child, like you kind of get that vibe of like, oh, why am I with my dad this weekend? I just want to be with my mum or vice versa. And you get to a point of where you get a bit annoyed when you do get palmed from pillar to post. The other bit I've written down is just the silence of the film throughout. We don't have actually any music until one point.
When they're like paddling across the lake to that pyramid.
Yeah.
It's got, it's like, oh, music.
Yeah. It's daft though that you didn't actually I didn't realise there was a lack of music until I had music.
Yeah, sometimes that's happened a number of times. I think it's in watching like other like Japanese films. There's obviously some musical stings like when action stuff, but for the majority of the time, there's not a lot of not relying on the music emotion here kind of thing that you must be feeling sad at this moment because the music's playing or whatever. But
I do think this kind of made. I think I got to a point of where I was a bit whelmy pat when the music was playing and knowing that her mum was going for her operation and this was kind of the last time they were going to be together basically as 8-year-olds.
Yeah, and last time, and then she gets to say goodbye to her grandma one last time.
Yeah,
where she drives off. But
I never like saying goodbye because I feel like it's too final. So that's like a me thing. Like I'll never say goodbye.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that to be a thing. So I'll always say see you later or bye or
I get
not
what you mean.
Good bye.
Good. Right. Okay. Is there anything else?
Don't think so. I think that's
it's quite a short film and kind of covered the most.
Like you said, with the return, I want to see the house one last time because it's memories, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's hard leaving them behind.
Yeah, you can take them with you. That's the good thing. There's obviously positive ones, of course.
When we moved into here, I cried because obviously we shared a house with my mum at that point, and that was kind of like my family home.
Yeah.
And I found that really hard, even though what I was moving into was so much better. It was just because that chapter was closing, and I think that's just what makes it challenging and upsetting because you feel like that's finished in a sense.
Yeah, but then you open a new chapter.
Yeah, you do. And then the end.
No, so like good performances all around. Let's say from the two girls, which obviously if it was done in like obviously like English language film, where it's sometimes it's hard to pick up on obviously from different countries and stuff. Like how are they? You assume they're doing a good job, but obviously it's more apparent if if they were speaking English,
Yeah.
then it'd be like, they're a bit weak in how they're coming across. But from what I can tell from the two of them, they're doing a pretty good job of,
Well,
acting.
the emotions were, and even when they were pretending to act like when they were playing, it seems to be quite involved. And no, I think they did
good job.
I think if anything, the dad just annoyed me a little bit, but I feel like he was. That's just his role to be like that.
Yeah. I don't find him too irritating, but I think that's more of a personal for you.
Probably.
For you, maybe. Perhaps. But...
So does Birthday Boy get to vote first?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, because technically it's something that we haven't seen before, like Sophie would normally. I think I was toying between the two ideas, but I think the benefit of this is because it's so short and it's so sort of endearing in a way of what, but at the same time I wasn't so emotionally invested in probably the way that you are, but very enjoyable, and I will watch it again. But I will give it an 8.5.
Okay.
So it's very short and sweet, and just overall glad I watched it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm not much higher. There's something that's not making it a 10 for me.
Because of the way you talking about it, I thought it would maybe.
I think it's a 9.5. It's solid.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It really is. I think biasly, sometimes if I'm lazy and I don't have to read subtitles, that would be so much more enjoyable. But at the same time, I think this gives it an endearing quality. But it would be lovely to see an English version of this, but I don't know if it would be as beautifully done.
Translated. The only other thing, sorry, I want to say, I don't know if I mentioned it, the fact that this was the same director who did Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
I didn't like that.
Do you remember that film?
I remember not liking it and thinking, what the hell have I watched?
Because there was lesbianism.
No, I just think it flitted and I just didn't really get it.
Right, okay. No, it's the same director.
No, this is...
Sorry, that doesn't change the score.
But I think also the subtitles, I was a lot better at reading them. I think it wasn't as fast-paced as that.
Right, got
to a point of where I was like, I don't know what's happening.
Okay.
Because I had to read, I had to watch, there was a lot of things happening.
More going on in that.
Yeah, whereas this you could actually...
take it in a bit more.
Yeah, and I think that's what I loved about it. And I think for my connections and kind of being relatable and a way of showing what death is, but not seeing death is a clever way of being portrayed.
Yeah, not dwelling on it too heavily.
Yeah, and it shows that you actually can, sadly, you do move on. Life goes on. Mm-hmm. Even though grief can still be there, life still, sadly, carries on. It doesn't stop.
Okay.
And it tugged on my heartstrings.
So it's a 9.5.
9.5.
Yeah. We'll move on to the question. Do you think if there was more content, i.e. if the film was longer than the runtime, do you think there would be there's more to tackle here, or do you think it's a good length?
I think, maybe length. I think it's perfect.
Perfectly, yeah.
I really enjoyed it, and I think I got everything out of it. The ending is a little bit
Oh, is that it? Kind of.
Yeah.
Would you want a bit more there? Do you think that would?
It would have been nice to see. And I know you're like, oh, Sophie, why do we have to always have it? They lived happily ever after.
Yeah.
But just a little bit more, them going back home, being a little bit more stabilised or something, or Nellie playing with her friends or something. Just having something with a bit more than just sitting on the kitchen floor. But it still works well. But I won't think it needs to be that much longer. It'd be like a sake of 5 minutes.
Because the film it didn't reach the hour and a half mark. It's
That's fine.
70 something minutes, so just hour and 15, I think.
Brilliant.
Something like that. Yeah, there's nothing you can think of.
Do you think there would be?
I don't know, but obviously I went through a sort of different experience of it than you did, I suppose. But I'm just curious to what would make it a 10 for you, really. But I guess you don't have a definitive answer. There's just something just not quite there.
I think it's me being lazy and not wanting subtitles, and I know that sounds really bad. Okay. I think that's one of them, and I think just the ending, maybe a little bit more.
Okay.
Even if it's driving off out of...
Yeah, just everything's going to be okay type of thing. Yeah, more of a sort of closure that way.
Yeah, instead of just okay, that's it.
Yeah, okay, right, okay. So
but fine. Apart from that, probably more watches, it could become a 10.
Yeah.
Quite easily.
Same for me, it could potentially go up, but I think there's more of a connection that you have with it than...
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Thank you for picking it.
No, you're welcome. So now we move on to something that has a bit more of a different tonal shift with Tenacious D and the Pick of Destiny, which you haven't seen. I was toying with a lot of that. What would be a good one to have Sophie watch? That's kind of just something a bit light-hearted. I guess was looking for like thing, but I think I don't know. I guess I kind of what drew me to this one and like, oh yeah, that might be good. Is I'd kind of stumbled across random. I don't even know how really, but it was like went down like a bit of a rabbit hole with. I think it was some AI generated like songs, obviously like
tribute.
There was like a Freak on a Leash sung by Patrick from SpongeBob.
You're gonna have to let me listen to that if that is a thing.
Yeah, no, it is. It totally is. And then
goodness.
there was like Aerials by System of a Down that was sung by Plankton, and then
which one's your favourite?
But I mean, when you listen to that, they are kind of they do sound like scary like them. So I don't like.
I don't know how AI works. It's this weird and wonderful thing.
But then this other one I found where SpongeBob and some of the other characters were doing the first song that appears in this film. And I'm thinking, I want to revisit that because I remember from back in the day, I mean, still sort of enjoy the music from this film, soundtrack and everything. And like Tenacious D, really kind of funny comedic band.
That's the only one I know.
No.
I know that sounds really bad. I feel like I actually have a moment with this song.
Which song?
The tribute song. All
right.
You're going to find it really weird. And I do remember it very well. I don't know how old I was. I was playing with my Barbie. And I realised my Barbie had a pink convertible.
Right.
Just thought to tell you. This is how vivid I remember this.
Okay.
So I'm playing with my Barbie in her pink convertible.
Yeah.
And I actually had cousins at that point. Not saying that they're dead. We just don't really see each other now.
Yeah.
And they were on my dad's side.
Okay.
And there were two boys and they were a bit older than me. And the tribute music video was on the TV.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sat there, obviously, with my little Barbie, and these two boys are, like, fascinated at this tribute. They were a couple of years older than me.
Yeah.
And, like, they thought it was absolutely the bee's knees.
The best song in the world.
Best song in the world.
As they say. Yeah.
And they were laughing and found it hysterical. Little me, with my Barbie doll pink Barbie convertible, obviously there's, like, devil, red horns.
Yeah.
I was bricking myself while these two boys are doing air guitars in the room, like vibing, and I'm like, what the hell is this on the telly?
All right. Well,
when did the tribute song come out?
I want to say 2003 for some reason. Could be wrong.
2001.
2001. Wow.
How old would I be in 2001?
You'd be like 9 or something.
Okay,
yeah.
Still playing with my Barbie. And I actually had a thing. It's so embarrassing. Why is it on your birthday special?
I know,
I'm
all this
pouring my
stuff
gut out.
Yeah.
Used to not like the devil, and I couldn't wear red. And now thinking about it, could this be because A, I was brought up in a Christian school, and B, this tribute of this horrible...
This demonic, very built, obviously if you saw it now, we went back on YouTube and you'd be like,
we're going to have to...
What the hell? Why did I think that's scary? I've said that about like, I'm going to have a tangent here, but like with Men in Black, and I remember something that really scared me. But I look back, like, why did I find that scary? And I think you have these things that you kind of remember again back to the childhood thing that you kind of triggers something sometimes when it's like, what the hell? And
it's weird that 9 years old, when we were just on about being 8 years old, and I can remember being 9 years old
watching that video
with probably they were about 11. The boys were, so that for them that was quite awesome.
Yeah, rock and roll.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't even know why I'm on my own with them at the moment. I don't even know where my sister was. But weird that so when we put this on, obviously I love Jack Black now. There is no problem. Like him in Holiday is absolutely
you
amazing.
You actually said like what year this came out. It was 2006, and you looked that up and you were like, oh, that was the same year that Holiday came out.
He looked exactly the same, and his persona and the way he was acting was the same. It wasn't like School of Rock. I think in School of Rock he's a bit chubbier. I think he's a bit thinner in this, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's just Jack Black. He is... anything he touches is gold, basically.
In a comedic sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and that for me to say,
That is high praise, I suppose. Yeah.
he is up there. Like, he's the best comedian. I love him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not even annoying. He's just, that's him. And
he's fun and boisterous and
like, if I met him in person and he was boring and dull, I'd be very disappointed. I just feel like that is him.
He's got a sense of humour. Going way off thing that with this now, but like obviously you see him on Instagram reels and stuff, and he's just, you can just see his bags of fun, really, just how he is and stuff. You know,
I don't really feel like there's much acting in this because obviously,
no, I think it's really just almost like a passion project of sort of like almost a comedy routine of how the band became Tenacious D.
When they say a band, it's just a duo, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Because there's only two of them.
Yeah. Well, obviously it's playing up with the fact that they are the greatest band in the world, and it's just two people, and it's like when you look down at it, it's just a guy singing and a guitarist, and that's it. And obviously it's like making up like big scale of like what they actually are, but you're going along for the ride, but that's what you know what you're getting with the thing. If you know what, obviously like the first album for that, the tribute came from, and all the other skits and stuff. But you'd have to, because they started off as like a comedy duo, and I think I don't know, Saturday Night Live or something like that, where they're doing a circuit of that. And if you listen to that first album, there's kind of skits that are included within that, and it's kind of like they're playing off each other, just like, you know, like we come on, dude, we've got to be doing all that kind of stuff. It's quite funny. So yeah, have you listened to that? And
got a lot of things to do and take on after this, haven't we?
Yeah. Well, the film itself, anyway, it was such a blast to revisit it, and it still holds up. And especially for me, particularly, like the songs are still really solid, and it's like, I remember this being like we listened to the CD like with Alex and everybody.
And you're going to say Alex because this song was at our wedding, and
no, the tribute was.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Not songs from this app.
No, but it just makes you think that comes back, and I can just see you being little children again, basically rocking out to it, and it's just
like in the car and everything. Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And I think this kind of, for me, stems back to a little bit of understanding Jack Black as a person and how he was raised, what his Christian backgrounds were compared to him wanting to be like metal and godly and like kind of looking like he wants to run away at a young age. Obviously, I think this was dramatized in the film. Of course, I don't think he ran away at like 10 years old and never saw his parents. So.
Yeah, there might be some truth in that, but obviously it's in like he's in the kitchen like with a metal t-shirt, the Sabbath t-shirt,
and all of that.
Yeah.
But
the dragon's balls ablaze and chopped his balls off with a long and shiny blade.
To be fair, the casting of that child, oh my god.
I feel like I've seen. I don't actually know.
I feel like it was Jack Black had a child, and that was his son. That's how bang on it was.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, look alike. But I feel like I'd have to look it up. But who he actually was, who the kid was, because he did like very much look similar to him.
He did, unless it was like a cousin or a nephew or something. I don't know. It was perfect.
Yeah, but obviously from the get go, that song is like sets the tone of the entire film. But obviously if you know what Tenacious D are about, then you kind of know that. But so for somebody who hadn't really know much about the band, how did you find the whole sort of experience with going through it and like the songs themselves?
Weirdly, some of them I knew, but didn't know. I know it sounds really daft, being aware of them, but not actually going, this is on like my Spotify playlist.
Yeah.
Heard them somewhere. It's probably been when I've either been little. It's probably not at school.
Oh, no, not your school. No, maybe not. But
or my other bits is probably maybe Guitar Hero. That would be...
Yeah, because the credits, you'd heard the metal.
Yeah.
That is on was it Guitar Hero 3, I think?
And I used to... I was constantly on that all the time.
Yeah. That was one of the difficult songs. Which...
Sarah used to love playing that one.
It's kind of funny because despite obviously the fact that the sort of the whole jokey aspect of like, we're the greatest band in the world, and obviously they take it super seriously, but the actual chord progression, even I remember that being quite one of like the back end when the songs are really hard, and I think there's actually some truth in that, like they're actually playing like really like complex
They're
riffs
amazing.
and stuff.
They really
Yeah,
are.
yeah.
And then the commentary and all of that within it. I think it shows Jack Black just really wanting approval from anyone and wanting someone to like him. And he's quite naive and gullible as a character, but just wants to do so well. So, like, for example, when he sees KG...
Yeah, Cargas, yeah.
He's absolutely smitten by him. He's like, you're amazing. I just want to be part of your band and want to be involved. And then he does so much crap for him because he thinks, oh, he's made it.
Yeah.
When actually he hasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole story is about getting this pick of destiny because obviously it's the devil's tooth that makes you play.
Yeah, these amazing riffs and stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Which is a load of bollocks.
Yeah, of course.
But at the same time, you need a story, don't you?
Yeah. Driving force and again, dramatising it all. Yeah.
It's just funny, it's intriguing. You want to know, like, I think you want to know how it ends. You do, even though you're going on this like extreme story.
Yeah. What my worry was at the coming back to this, I'm thinking, is this going to be, especially more for you, like, are you going to find this really like cringy?
I thought I would do because there were certain bits like the cock push up I've written down.
Yeah.
And I was a bit like. But actually, it didn't annoy me. I think because it was paced out between the film, it wasn't too bad. And it actually... I can't believe I'm saying this.
Go on.
It came into play. It was a valuable piece because at the end, his cock push-ups kind of helped. And I can't believe I'm saying that. But it was valid to be in there. It wasn't like just this, dumbass joke that's thrown in and not used.
To get over again, yeah. I guess, and also like the power slide when they go out of the rock and roll.
So it felt like they had thought it through.
It wasn't just like, oh yeah, that's funny, let's just do that for no reason.
I can't believe I just said that.
But so I thought you were going to say like, I can't believe, because there's a couple of other cameos, but like Ben Stiller makes an appearance.
Best Ben Stiller moment ever.
Because he wasn't annoying.
He wasn't annoying. He actually seemed like he could act, and he did a really good role. I was like, wow, okay.
Yeah, see, like, it's
that
like
was
Adam
fine.
Sandler being, like, not always.
Adam Sandler still has his voice, that's the problem with Adam Sandler, and his face. Like, he can't get rid of that, sadly, can he?
No, not unless he has a
But Ben Stiller had long black hair. He seemed to really embrace the role, and he was only on for like
a very brief
10
period.
minutes.
Yeah.
And his lines were solid, and he seemed really, really invested in what he was doing.
Yeah, I think they're like really good friends. Like, again, I think it's also that you have that work around with that. You're like, do you want to get involved in the film? And probably like cameos. So there was like, I didn't notice from ages ago, but there was a very young, is it Amy? I never know how to pronounce her name. Amy Fowler, who Parks and Recreations. Yes. She's got the bruised eye in the restaurant.
Did I point that out, or did you notice her, or was that me?
I noticed it this time round because
did you?
Obviously back in the day I wouldn't have known.
You wouldn't have known. No, but I was like, oh my god! And I didn't realise the age gap in between it as well. Like, for her being like, obviously watching her in Parks and Recs, I've never really seen her younger self, if that makes sense, in something.
But I feel like it probably would have been at around the sort of time in the 2000s, but
I think Parks and Recs just looks she looks older because of the character she's playing.
Maybe, that's maybe it, yeah.
Yeah.
But it looks sort of different. She's like downtrodden, like a happy, she's
she
like
looks
a
smaller as well.
Sulkier face and everything like that, and there's a couple of other things like...
I did think she'd have a bit of a bigger part, actually, to be fair. I thought she'd be coming back into play where Jack Black's character kind of, I don't know, there'd be a romancy thing. But it doesn't go down that path, which is actually not a bad thing.
No, so I was saying about these little brief moments where they're just friends of the, do you want to be involved? And like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
To do.
What is nice is obviously KG ends up buying Jack Black his first ever proper guitar, and even though he's just spent all the rent money on that.
Yeah.
And then realising obviously his mummy's not going to be paying his rent anymore, and they're like, oh crap, we've got to actually graft and do some work and get a wage and be an adult. Mm-hmm. And this is when they kind of find out about the Pick of Destiny and go on this quest. Yeah. And I think what I really love about it is, I can't believe I'm saying this. Who am I?
Go on.
Is the story within it where it kind of shows you as like a book, kind of, in a sense, where like the characters and the knights.
The chapters, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know, it just feels like Jack Black is literally telling you he's reading you a story. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Like he's literally got his book open and this is the story of his life.
Chapter 2. Yeah, there's little card things that kind of like showing like, this is the point where you're the teacher. This is the part where we separated separate ways. We had like a falling out kind of thing. And
then they're like riding on a horse going on the quest with a diaper or something. And it's just, I don't know. It sounds like I've drank too much.
You haven't though.
I haven't. No. I've just had a tea. I am fine. The fact that I have to say I'm fine is...
No, honestly, she's not had anything to drink.
This film, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to hate it, but because I love Jack Black so much, I'm like, I absolutely adore it. Like, I thought when we got to the scenes of when Jack Black was on magic mushrooms, that it was going to get too much.
Yeah.
And it didn't, and I was like, what the hell? It was fascinating.
It was, yeah, it really was, and it's very colourful and everything.
The idea of the Yeti and...
Sasquatch.
What?
Sasquatch.
Well, the Sasquatch...
Bigfoot. That's what Sasquatch is.
Is that not a Yeti?
Yeti's different. Yeti lives in the Himalayas. Sasquatch lives in the American wilderness.
How do you know this?
I read a lot of books about, well, not of recent, but like back in the day. It's a different creature, different being. If he's in the icy mountains, yeah, it'd be Yeti. But
okay, so what is he?
Sasquatch.
Never heard that in my life.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, he mentioned it enough in the film. He said Sasquatch, didn't say Yeti.
I thought that was the name of the...
No! No, he's not
like he was high on drugs and he was calling it this nickname or his name.
No. You not really not heard of No.
I really haven't.
Okay.
Oh, I know of a Yeti. So is he just like a different breed? Just lives...
He's North American. Yeah. Half man, half ape.
So basically you're kind of trying to say to me, like, as we're English people and then you've got somebody living over in the other country there.
I suppose.
I guess that's what you're trying to say, because it's the same thing. It's just one lives in cold weather, one lives in hot.
Yeah, I guess.
Hey.
But
we call him Bigfoot.
We call it Bigfoot, but he's called Sasquatch. They don't say Bigfoot in the film. Oh, hang on, you know Bigfoot because it's mentioned in the Goofy movie.
I know Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
But I don't know Sasquatch or whatever that is.
I don't know why it is called Sasquatch. The reason, but that's the same thing.
I just thought Bigfoot and the Yeti are the same thing. They're both big, aren't they? And they got. Anyways, right.
Yes, you learned something there.
Wow. That tickled me.
What tickled me? and from back in the day, and also this time around as well. When they're going down that like the waterfall.
That is such a good scene.
Yeah, he's like, this is super fun, and then it cuts to when he's actually like, obviously what he's seen, like he's in this little raft thing, rubber dinghy thing, and it's like, oh, it's really pleasant. But when it cuts to reality, he's just riding down a ravine, and it's just.
I feel like
that's such a good it's such a good cut as well, because it's like, oh, it's all like music's playing, and then it's like just a hard cut to just rapids and
yeah,
and
it's like showing somewhat. I feel like this should be like a drug education lesson.
Yeah.
Behind it as well.
Expectation versus reality.
Yeah, what you're thinking is happening. Actually, you're going to drown to death, basically. Yeah,
like flying, and it's just like climbing along a tree.
Yeah. And then falling off it.
Yeah, got to come down. Yeah, eventually.
It makes you think, because I've actually never done drugs or anything like that. I think it relates to me being like the black swan when I said, I'm such a goody two-shoes. But I think because I am an anxious person and I'm in my head a lot and I worry, I would be one of those paranoid overthinkers. I just don't think it'd do me any good. I think I'd be too much in my head and panicking that actually there'd be no point in me ever doing it.
Right, yeah. You'd have a bad trip, you think?
Yeah. And I think this kind of shows you he's having an amazing one, but still harming himself because he doesn't realise actually what's happening. It does empower him to get to where he needs to be, though, somehow, and it gets the story moving along.
That's another thing. It does go quite a brisk pace. It doesn't, well, you're not going, oh, this is really boring, or this is stupid, or anything like that. And as I say, the music pushes that along quite well as well. But obviously for me, going back to that, that's a banger. Pretty much.
It's a banger.
Majority of the songs in it are like, it takes back to whatever
How
youth.
old would you have been? You'd
Well,
have been
in
11.
2006, and remember we went to cinema with like Alex and Leonie and.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. So we all enjoyed it and stuff. So it was,
Did you have to have a parent take you?
No.
So you must have been like 30.
Yeah, it was in like
40.
just before in like sixth form. Because obviously, like 2007 was when went to university. So it was,
God, you're showing your age now.
Yeah,
Paul. Stop talking.
But one of the other funny scenes, I think it kind of helps when it's kind of like cuts from like dramatic music or the soundtrack anyway to sort of like a silent moment. It's when they got this friendly.
Oh, you mean the little pizza guy?
Yeah, the pizza. Well, he's not real little, but the pizza guy.
Yeah.
And so I need to borrow your car to get to the museum on this road trip and stuff. And he sees the car chase on the TV. Lee, he's watching it, and he's like, "Oh, that's my car." And his phone rings, and he mutes the TV. I think. Yeah, he does.
Because obviously there's loads of sirens.
Yeah. So
going off.
Obviously you can hear him, like Jack Black's like, "Oh, watching a movie or something." And he can see. And he can hear that when it cuts back to Lee on the phone, it's like, but he can see what's on the screen visually, but he can hear just a muffled like, yeah. It's like, oh, that's interesting, but it's like, and he can actually see what's going on, but whether he's either just really dumb or, he's just going along with it. I don't know, but it's like he's not going like, oh, my car or anything like that. But it's kind of been. It
works really well, and it gives the comedy of the film again.
Works. Really well.
I have a question, kind of jumping towards the end, if I can.
Yeah, can. Yeah.
Obviously, we've got this weird guy that we don't really.
Yeah, this weird he's putting on affecting a Russian accent. He's got this hobble and stuff. He's played by Tim Robbins.
He's got one leg, hasn't he?
Tim Robbins, was in The Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne.
I know what you mean, but I can't see that person being that person.
Well, no, obviously he's got a beard in this, and he's got really long hair. He's quite a different character, but.
And he seems a bit sketchy, but obviously he wants the pick of destiny.
Yeah.
He tried, apparently, how much of that's true or not.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's kind of one of those things where he's like, wants the pick off them and he wants to kind of stay there, I'll get it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we can just walk off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so why won't we? And then the police, I think, take him, don't they?
Yeah.
But then you've got this bit where they're fighting over who can have the guitar pick.
Yeah.
And then obviously the devil is the management, I guess, of picking you up to who to sign. Basically, that's kind of what they're saying.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, really.
Which Taylor Swift knows kind of about, doesn't she?
Right.
But then they kill the devil, or they put the devil back into hell.
Yeah, they break this pawn. Yeah. And
they kind of do a good performance on stage, but then that's
right.
Kind of it, isn't it? You don't really see him become super famous and superstardom and them jetting off to being like doing gigs around the world, or
no.
I guess it's implied that they become famous from it.
I think the implication at the very end when it's like, it's the smoke, the bong of destiny, instead of the pick of destiny. So it's like, obviously the drugs help them make the music that gets them to
like any artist, the Beatles.
Yeah. But
Elton John, which I was surprised about.
Still can't believe you didn't think that was the case. But
innocent Paul.
But obviously, I pointed out to you, that devil was Dave Grohl in costume.
Yes, and I wouldn't have not noticed that until you said it, and then I heard the voice
in that. But that devil, Dave Grohl played that devil that was in that music video.
We're gonna have to watch that movie,
but in a slightly different costume. But it is him as well in that. So and again, he's good friends with Jack Black.
So he scared me when I was 9 years old. Paul, your favourite
Foo Fighters aren't my favourite band.
Well, you really like them.
Oh, they are good. Yeah. But
you've seen them live. I'd like to think that
I've seen Tenacious D live.
Have you?
Yeah.
With who?
With Joe, brother.
Was I with you at that point?
It was a long time ago, and to be honest, they were kind of not in particularly good shape.
Not in the prime.
Yeah, so it was almost after every song they had to take a breather. Bless them. So kind of it's not as quite the rock and roll metal thing that they're making out to be. Bless them, but it's still a good show though. Don't get me wrong, because obviously but yeah,
I would go. I would go with you next time if you want to go. That is.
But is there any particular standout tracks from the from this film soundtrack that you thought, oh, that's really good?
Even if I did, I wouldn't know the names of them. Or
well, okay, well, if you can describe like a scene where one played or anything.
God, I think the ending really, and
Against the Devil.
And I really enjoy the Jack Black doing like the kind of like with his voice and the.
Oh, you mean like that classical piece? Yeah, can't you see he's the man? That's one of the first ones when he meets KG.
Yeah, and he's just ad-libbing and ad-libbing to it, and it's just like
that's how Jack Black is.
Yeah, and it's just seeing him like that is just that's
a delight.
Yeah, it is. I think the only other thing that for me when I kind of watched it was trying to get him into starhood is that scene where he breaks down where KG's heckling him, throwing bottles at him, and having a pretend audience going, "You're shit, you're rubbish, get off," and him kind of being hurt and upset. And I think you don't actually realise when somebody is on a stage like that, they are just pouring their heart out, and they're very vulnerable.
Yeah,
and it takes a lot of guts to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I think that's what I noticed from that. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it, which I feel like no pressure for me for my birthday.
That's good then. I'm glad you enjoyed it, really, because I wasn't. I thought you might be like rolling your eyes.
I thought I was going to hate it,
but I clearly made a good choice with what I picked. But
you can't go wrong with Jack Black.
Sort of happy that you kind of like, you'd like to sort of listen to probably essentially revisit the soundtrack of this, and then also see like the other songs that they've done on the thing.
Rocking out in the kitchen.
Because like some of the skits and stuff were quite funny, but for me, like aside from like the very last song with Against the Devil, Beelzebub, I think it's called, Final Showdown, I believe. the one where Jack Black's imagine when he's like, oh, we're going to be the greatest band ever, and having that sort of dream where he's like, where they go back to the open mic night, and they do that Master Exploder song where it's like, I do not need a microphone.
Yes.
Yeah. And he's doing that, all that exaggerated, like, like all the fireworks, and blows his head off because of his singing and stuff. Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. Just really showmanship, really, and just all the, like, wow, he's got like 4 arms playing guitar and stuff.
I think that just shows Jack Black's imagination as well.
Yeah, again, like, we are the greatest band ever, and that's all part of the show, I think.
The naivety, though, is like an inner child that thinks he's like, I'm amazing. Yeah. And I think I wish everyone had a little bit more of him. Yeah. So, anything else before we go to scores? Because I feel like this one's going to be a long one for you to edit. No,
I think that's everything. I'm glad that you'd essentially resonate with it in some respect. Yeah.
Being scared as a 9-year-old.
But here's for your score.
I feel like when we do these kind of things, it's really hard because I feel like I have to kind of go in some form of sequential reasoning, and I think it's tricky because this is completely different to.
Oh no, I know it is.
Little Mum or Petite Mamman.
Petite Mamman, yeah.
Petite Mamman. And the one that we're going to cover in a minute, and it's like they're all very diverse and collective.
Yeah. But,
did I enjoy it 100%?
Yeah.
Would I watch it again? Yes.
Okay.
When I need cheering up, I would put this on.
Okay.
If I need a Jack Black fix and it's not the holiday I'm feeling, then this would be my next kind of Jack Black film or Kung Fu Panda.
It's very different.
I knew that would make you laugh. Still Jack Black. He's just literally just in a panda suit. It's like Donkey being Eddie Murphy.
Not Be Kind, Rewind.
Nice. I remember seeing it, but I've remembered it.
Or High Fidelity, where he was in that.
I remember that more.
Yeah.
I think Be Kind, Rewind, I wasn't.
No.
I don't know why.
Okay. But anyway, that's bye.
High Infidelity had John Cusack in as well, so.
Yeah.
2. I'm torn because, like,
we'll go with your heart then. What does your heart rock tell you?
It's a 9.
Why are you laughing?
Because I wanted to give it an 8, But actually, I really enjoyed it, so I can't.
No, it's down to enjoyment of it. But
I feel like
that's what surprised me. Actually.
But actually doing it with versus little mum being only 9.5, I'm like, oh, really?
Yeah, but it's different. You got to take it as different. These scores we don't obviously reflect on like, oh, wow, could you put that against that? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's what I'm meaning.
But it's all down to your enjoyment, what you get out of it at the end
brilliant.
of the day. But
it was amazing. I loved it.
Now, interesting enough, I think
you got scoring it lower. Am I just being really generous tonight?
Maybe, yeah. It's a turn of events, isn't it? Normally,
especially for your birthday special.
Yeah.
Stroking your ego here. Come on, it's the best movie in the world.
In terms of what the film is, though, I mean, my
I'm biased. It's Jack Black Gold.
With the music for me, but don't get me wrong. That was the going through it all. Like, oh yeah, these, like I said, these songs are great. And everything, sort of remembering from the past, like a sort of nostalgia trip, really through and through. And going through it, I think I'm just gonna say it's a very solid 8.
I was gonna toy with an 8, but then he said, "What does my heart say?" And actually, to be fair, my heart said a 9.
Oh, okay,
and I think it's just because it's the first comedy that proper made me laugh.
Yeah,
and that's rare for me to really enjoy it.
For you,
and I think that's why I'm scoring it so highly, is because there should be cringe moments within the film for me.
Yep.
And there is, but it doesn't do that to me. And that is why I think it's fantastic.
Right.
And it's intriguing. When you first time watching it,
right,
you don't know if they're going to get the pick of destiny. You don't know how it's going to pan out. Like, obviously, for your second time watching it, you're aware of however
I can't remember.
The billionth times.
It's been a while since I'd seen it, but weirdly, I remembered it pretty well because of the way the story goes. It's not anything too complex or anything. I feel like sort of the beats and the songs kind of generally, in the most part, work on their own. You don't need that.
It's a story within the song, isn't it?
At the same time, it does and takes me back.
I bet when you're listening to that now, though, the film comes into play. You can kind of
in certain bits,
yeah. And for you, I think it's one of those things. If you've seen it several times, probably isn't feeling as special. But my first watch was fantastic. And to be fair, I feel like it's one of those, if you were feeling unwell or wanted to laugh or just put it in the background and it would be,
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you got so much enjoyment out of it. I'm surprised, actually. But
me too.
And a pleasant surprise. And last, but certainly not least, talking about the Patreon pick, Coraline.
Caroline.
Which I mean, obviously based on how the scoring was, as I said before, I was veering more to Coraline being the winner anyway, but it's obviously came to my hands and to sway that way. And
to be fair, we watched both, didn't we? Because you said I'd watched Kubo, and I was like, have I?
And and I think, to be honest, I made the right call with that, because I thought I would remember more about Kubo when we watched it.
I think we've only watched it the once together, haven't we?
And that was a while ago. But
what
for some
about
reason, I've seen that so many times.
Have you? Yeah. I feel like I've seen it once or twice, maybe 3. This might be the third time.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I remember watching it with Mum as well. I think we did
one other time,
because I feel like this one kind of is a Halloween vibe. It feels like it does. Say and tell me off. It's a bit Tim Burton-ish.
Well, you say that, this is annoying that people associate, Tim Burton did Nightmare Before Christmas. No, it was Henry Selick who directed this one. He was the man who obviously was behind the stop motion element of all this. So
where does Tim Burton come from then?
His involvement, obviously, with maybe the designs and stuff. He did do a stop motion in that Frankenweenie. Years and years later, and Corpse Bride, obviously. Those are.
I always think Corpse Bride and Nightmare Before Christmas are quite similar, though. To be fair,
because they involve dead people.
No, I think just the design, the way it's. That's why I always think, it's Tim Burton.
Yeah, it's Tim.
And anything dark.
Yeah, and of that caliber, yeah.
You just, I'm sorry, the fact, you just do.
But even when this came out, it was back 2009, I believe. Was it uni, second year of uni? big into animation. Obviously, I was doing a course on it and everything like that, and learn about this film coming out. Oh, that looks interesting. I like stop motion and the craft and everything of that. And it's look, like I say, like it's like a dark fairy
And
tale.
Paul loves anything dark.
And twisted. Yeah. And I don't know what is obviously relative to me, but like knowing that it was based off a children's book, thinking, I can get like a look into that. It can't be like too difficult to read and everything. So I scoured around for one to read that before I went into the film.
Yeah, it's rare.
Yeah. And it was a relatively short read, and yeah, there's some dark imagery, like a young adult reader. Really, I think this film is to be honest, is like a gateway entry into that sort of like I say, Halloweeny type, like going into the more dark and macabre watching of films. If you were interested in like the horror thing, introducing like a young 12-year-old or maybe 10-year-old, maybe.
Yeah, our child's not going to be obsessed with horror. Paul.
Oh.
You can be obsessed with Pokemon, not horror.
We'll see.
It'll have my innocence in there. Remember that.
But this was another film I remember. I think when the 3D boom was kind of popular in cinemas. I think it was around that time. And to be fair,
did you see it in the cinema?
I did, yeah. And I saw it in 3D in cinema.
Oh wow, you actually forked out.
Yeah, I think I saw it twice in the cinema.
Who with?
So
What about yourself?
I can't remember if I saw it with, but I know I wanted my brother to see it in 3D.
Oh. Did it scare Joe?
No, I don't think so.
He'll have been quite little in comparisons to you.
Yeah, it will have been, but it was fairly solid use of 3D. It's not like the Avatar, which is like the best example of 3D, just saying the stories. Crap film. But the 3D in that, it's kind of stood out, and not like is nowadays where it's like, what's 3D about this?
I feel like for me, I'm intrigued. I always enjoy watching this, and I always have to watch it and go, how amazing actually is it, the way that this all works and the way that it's stop motion, the shot by shot, how they
put it all together.
Is fascinating, and credit for that. It is beautifully done.
I'm waiting for the book.
I don't know, I feel like it's creepy and it's weird and it's dark and it makes you feel like a little bit like uneasy. And at the same time it's beautiful and it's really cleverly done, but for me it's one of those things, like you're saying, it is a bit horror. It
a very, I don't know, I wouldn't say simple, but like not really like grotesque or anything. It's kind of just a bit. Ooh.
Well, I don't really like the first opening scene of when the doll's getting made.
Right.
Like that's like Edward Scissorhands to me.
Yeah, yes, this mechanical.
I've never seen that film actually.
Have you not? No.
No.
Oh right, okay. Maybe for around Christmas time, maybe.
Why Christmas? Sorry.
Because it's. I think.
No, naff off.
I don't know. There's a winter quality about it, but. And anyway, let's leave that for now.
I wish I'd never said anything.
Right, come on.
I'll batter you. I know it's your birthday, but I'm going to fall out with you. So yeah, it's this creepy ass doll, and the eyes, like the button eyes, I don't know, they freak me out.
Really?
Yeah. There's something about them and the way like the doll parents look at her. And
well, yeah, because it's like soulless, because there's no... they're not eyes, they're just empty voids, aren't they, really?
It does relate to me a little bit and make me think, oh gosh, will we be rubbish parents? And I know that sounds awful, because life is just hard when you work anyways, never mind balancing having to look after a little one who wants all your attention and to entertain them at the same time as I am working to provide you an income and to pay for your bill, for the roof over your head, for food on the table. A child doesn't get that. No,
especially a teenager who's moved to a new area and stuff, and it's like,
doesn't want to be there.
Move away from her friends and all that kind of stuff. But I think what the base of the story is: be careful what you wish for, in a sense, like, oh, I want mum and dad to be all fun and thing and just like everything very nice all the time. But you got to learn that that's not always the case, and there's sometimes there can be consequences to those
and I think
ideals.
It shows that life is not always peaches, and it can't be. And yes, it seems great that you get all these new shiny things, but sometimes if you get that all the time,
novelty wears off.
Yeah, and you're not going to value it, you're not going to appreciate it. Like, her mum in the end does buy her those gloves that she wants, and that must mean so much because she's actually, her mum listened and remembered, and B, she had to wait for it, so that yearning for that item is even more special.
Good things come to those who wait.
Yeah. You've got so many diverse characters in this.
I have, yeah.
And it's so bizarre. So you've got, what's his name? No names, or what's the weird name for that child?
What, sorry? The kid on the bike?
Yeah.
YB.
YB.
Why born? Why were you born?
Yeah. And the cat.
Yep.
And the YB is just the way that he's like, looks like a nutty professor. Like,
yeah, he's like
child.
Really skitty, like.
And the way that he's like.
He's like hunched over and he has like weird, like, and nervous disposition too.
Yeah, it's freaky.
Oh, you think he's freaky?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Just how he acts, not just.
And the talking and the following her and just.
Right.
The look of him, and I think because he's hunched and he's like this with his arms all the time, it's like.
Like picking up those slugs and everything.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And then especially when they have him in the doll world, where his mouth...
Oh, yeah, so, yeah.
Like a bit like the Joker, isn't he? Basically, like, ends up having smile lines.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, there's just something weirdly sinister about the whole...
No, it's absolutely meant to be that way.
And me being me, I'm not a sinister person. You really like this kind of dark essence and, the essence of the darkness. And I'm like, I just want a little bit of happiness in this, you know. The only happy thing is that she's got a yellow coat on and blue hair, like, so she looks like the sky. But everything else is quite
dreary. And, it's rainy all the time. It's like
it only looks colourful when she's in like the doll world.
Obviously, that's the point of it, to the sharp contrast to what everything's boring here. But when you go to the fun side, it's all nice and it's all warm and cosy. And
what a sheep thinks, isn't it? The grass is always greener at the other side, and normally it's not. Obviously,
like things from. Different from the book, the fact that this is Americanized for obviously I think a wider audience appeal, really, because the book is set in English. It's English anyway.
I don't understand. They've stolen our language. Why does it have to be like we have American voiceovers?
I don't know.
Sometimes it's always Americans, and it's like, why? There is so many other countries in the world. Why does it have to be Americanized? When did they become the country that has to be followed?
Well, that's where the money comes from for the Hollywood and stuff. Really, they got the budget to do it. So, but no, see, from the studio Leica is this like their first outing, and for me, this is like, if you remember, like how Toy Story was like the big thing for Pixar, and the story in that comparatively in that sense, like it's quite how Pixar have started, and then how they are now. The technology has advanced so drastically. I'm going to say, like, the story is great in Toy Story, but the visuals on it look a bit ropey, I have to say.
I don't think Coraline has that.
No, because it's almost timeless because of it being in the stop motion format, and there's no digital upscaling. It's like you say, like that. If you think about like how Shrek is, you put that in 4K or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just just cleaning it up a little bit under the rendering. But with this, as I must say, I don't know if you can vouch, or you're on the same way that when we're watching the 4K version of
amazing.
This, you could like say in that first instance where you see the hand and the stitching the buttons, you can see all the fibres on the thing. It's like so sharp and pinpoint, and everything look just, again, the colours on it vibrant when you get to those scenes later on. And
I think that was the difference with Cubo, not meaning that in a bad way. It lost that a little bit for me when I was watching it.
How do you think?
It felt like, part of it felt like it could just be not a stop motion. Like, obviously you've got some,
right.
Not as much as Coraline. I seem to appreciate the stop motion a lot more in Coraline.
Because that's where the starting point, that's what they're focusing on. There's some digital effects, obviously, like when the house sort of like disappears into that white area, because that's like showing they can't go beyond the realm of the area.
But I think Kubo has a lot more
CGI
effects. Which are not actually just stop motion.
I think there's some elements in it that still had to be that way, but just briefly back to the point of like why it looks so good and still holds up, especially with 4K, because of it being a physical entity of stop motion. That was like mastered from the just a recording. It's obviously just moving the camera. That's actually like just like a normal studio like live action thing or whatever, as opposed to it's just on a computer, just hit 4K render and it's done, and it's just upscaling it in that sense, so it looks much sharper. More the lighting is accurate to what it is right there, if that makes sense. In the room, it does. And all that kind of stuff. So it really
stop motion is one of the most beautiful ways of doing anything. Like,
it's time consuming, but it's when you do it right, like this film does, it's beautiful. It's so good. So good.
Sometimes I was watching it thinking, like with the mice jumping. How...
it's so mind-blowing, like how those things, obviously in sequential, because it's on like doop-a-doop, and they're just up and down and squashing, stretching and going around in a circle. And all this simple things like, when pouring, like, say, you destroy one and the sand comes, it turns into a rat, and the sand comes out, pours out, and that's not very stupid. People are like, oh, just pouring sand out. But things like...
Where's the hand getting involved in this? Like,
inch by inch, and just
how many shots per frame is being taken for this to actually move? And I think Kubo, I don't really able to analyse that sadly, whereas this with Coraline, I do. I do think Kubo, for its story and kind of, it's not as dark and gritty as this one.
I feel like that one.
I think this is probably why Coraline is something
stands out a bit more
for you. 100%.
And obviously the fact of how for Coraline as well, and you've made a joke about Caroline, because the other adults keep getting her name wrong, calling her Caroline. They're not paying attention to her. You're not listening to me. It's kind of like she's just
she's just a child. She's just,
like, you're not not to be taken seriously and all this kind of stuff. And so
I do think it's a bit of a daft name. I've not heard Coraline. Sorry, anyone who is called Coraline.
If you are called Coraline, just let us know, or if you know somebody who is.
But I can see them common occurrence, because I always think of the new 1975 song, Caroline. And that pops into my head every time I hear Coraline. And I kind of feel like, instead of singing Happy Birthday on you, I'm like doing a post, I want to put that on, just because it's like quite funny, because through the film she is getting frustrated.
Constantly correcting.
Adults, which you shouldn't have to correct an adult.
But I say the other characters are obviously quite colourful as well. You've got Mrs. Spink and
the two actresses.
Yeah,
I can't remember the names. But, and then you've got the weird and wonderful guy that lives...
Mr. Babinski, who's... with the mice and everything.
And I think it's quite sad at part of it, because her parents are kind of fobbing her off on the neighbours, because it's like, we don't have time, we've got to work, we've got a deadline. Go see what your other neighbours are up to and everything like that. And pushing her away, like, go have a look, you're in a brand new house, how many doors are there, how many windows are there? Trying to occupy her, because she's not got any friends anymore at the moment. She hasn't really got a room set up. She's not really got any purpose. And I think this is where this weird doll appears by YB.
Some coincidence that it happened to be in the form of her as a doll. And it's like, I'd chuck that away if it was me. But
it's so freaky. It's like, she's like, oh, come on, little me. Where's little me gone? I'm thinking little me would be in the bin. Like, the thought of a doll looking like me. Oh, God. What did you make of, like, the other mother when she kind of turns more like... Don't like her.
More sinister.
Like a skeleton.
Slender
she looks a little bit like The Nightmare Before Christmas then. Sam the Skeleton.
Jack Skellington.
Why are we going to call him Sam?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Jack but like lanky.
Yeah, it's kind of like...
Obviously it's like, kind of like,
And the neck and the spine and, like, up her neck as well. Like, like you can see. But, no.
And even further on from that, she becomes more like spider-like, catching people in a web.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the idea behind it, like a sort of interpretation of a witch, essentially.
I was going to ask, is she a witch? And obviously the dad seems to just be kind of created for a ploy and to get...
She's the puppet master of it,
And
really.
it's like, I shouldn't be saying this, and...
Yeah. And there's obviously those other insect elements within that world as well. Like the praying mantis in the garden, like cutting down the thing, and
if only
the cockroach cupboard or whatever, and things like that. That sort of like bugs seem to be quite prevalent in the film.
Yeah, I think it just shows kind of actually she's in a dark place, like underground, basically, with the insects and bugs kind of being a representation of this darker, witchy, earthy tone that they're portraying. And I think it shows, initially that's meant to be all colourful and bright and like, this is meant to be amazing. You get tea and you get to be put to bed and all of this aspects, and then it kind of turns...
Yeah, you see the world for what it really is. Yeah, this illusion and stuff.
It's clever, and it's really, really, really clever the way that it's all portrayed.
Mm-hmm. I like it, obviously, like initially when she goes to the little cupboard in the room, and it's like
Don't
that colourful...
go in little cupboards, that's what
in that colourful tunnel, it's like... I don't know if you ever had one of those kind of like foldy-out tube tunnel things when you were a kid or anything like that. But yeah, it's obviously like very colourful, and it's leading to the path to a nicer place to go and visit.
But actually it's just a mucky cupboard with loads of cobwebs in reality.
Yeah. It's this illusion of what you think you want, but it's just stay away.
And actually it's YB's fault, because if she hadn't brought the buttons on the eyes, it wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
So I don't understand truly where the doll was placed, where was it, how did it come into existence, sort of? How did the note... Because he says, like, the Pink Palace, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to come to there, no children allowed or anything like that. So then why was Coraline A, an exception, and B...
Yeah, it's almost like it was the other mother knew that she was coming or something, so she sent that out into the abyss, into the world, and then so that was like a spy.
But the story was... it must have been beforehand, she must have seen the future.
But yeah, exactly, because there was the other dolls that were involved, and I think the one that she was changing was that the sister of the grandma. So she's replacing her with another one. I've got the soul of those other kids. Which one of those the dolls was that person who got lost? Died ages ago. And so it's like, right, I'm gonna snare another person who's...
So do you think it's like Hocus Pocus, where they want to have like the younger one, like a witch, where you want to have the youthful child to keep you younger? Is that the logic behind it?
I think so, because she does... The other mother says more the back end when she's like, Coraline's escaping. She's like, I'll die without you. So she must need... I think that's another trope with witches, like, I need young blood to rejuvenate myself and keep on living. I think...
It does make it also feel like she'll die because she loves her so much that she can't have her, so then...
Yeah, if I can't have you, no one can.
Yeah.
Element to that, but...
One of so new button eyes on that was a freaky bit of the film where the thought of taking her eyes physically out...
I didn't show that, but
to sew them up in your head. Just a bit... Yeah, I think it's quite strange, because it shows there's a couple of morals, a couple of reason behind it.
Mm-hmm.
It is really colourful.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't like the darkness of it.
Right, okay. No, I kind of get that you're not your sensibilities of that kind of tone, but I honestly think it's, to me anyway, but maybe it's just because I've seen darker stuff, but even at a point when it wasn't, I would say like horror, and I read Goosebumps book and stuff when I was younger and stuff like that, so I had a sort of like understanding of how things were, but in a visual sense of what this offers, I wouldn't say it was like, oh, that's really terrifying or anything like that, but the implications of what it was going for, and it's kind of a bit like it is really intriguing. And
I think my younger self would have been scared of this.
Yeah,
definitely.
Right, I can probably see that, to be fair.
Like if this was something I was coming into watching it, I think I would be frightened. Not now, because obviously I'm an adult, but I still feel like it can make you feel a bit uneasy, and it does have that essence of darkness and what it's going for. Basically, it does portray it, even as an adult.
Still
watch.
A creepiness. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that, but but in a good way for me. Like when Coraline goes to see her dad after, like, when she falls asleep in the alternate world, and she kind of, like, starts seeing the world for what it is, and the dad's, like, really suddenly, like, where's Wybie? He pulled a sad face, and, like, stretches his mouth out, and it's, like, really, like, yeah. But in a way that's kind of, like, not, like, really grotesque or anything like that, but it's still kind of, like, unsettling.
No, it is, and even to the point of where we have, like, the old actresses in the real world compared to being in the new world, like, they had to be thin and young, and
that was in their youth.
Yeah,
and, like, Babinski being successful with his performing mice in this alternate world. And everyone, like I say, even the mice have little button eyes and stuff, so they're not true to themselves. They're kind of a shadow of them, what they actually are.
I think the cat plays the most crucial role within this.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's kind of he can jump through both worlds and
help Coraline with what she needs to, and I think he's actually quite well portrayed. Quite enjoy him on scene when he is there. It's weird when we did watch this how much I've actually remembered this time round compared to, like, the first or the second time. It seems to be the more that you watch it, the more it kind of remains in your head. And
I guess the question is, what would you score it?
It's a good question. I think for me, I feel like this is going to be your highest.
You're right there.
And I think I'm going to be scoring it a bit lower. Not too much lower. So it's probably going to be an 8.5 from me. I really enjoy it. But is it one that I'm like, I really want to put on and put it on again? I do get that, but it's not this makes me laugh. This makes me, like, little mum feel nostalgic or kind of sweet and endearing.
Warm, comforting.
Yeah, it's none of those feels. It's a bit creepy and eerie. I'd probably put it on in Halloween and be happy to class that as a Halloween film.
Yeah, I think... Obviously, I think it's like a Halloween watch, really, to be quite honest. But it's something that I thought I want to come back to, and I got the new disc and everything like that.
It is beautiful on the new disc. Really I think the 8.5 is high for me because of what kind of criteria the film is. Yeah. But I'm a sucker for stop motion, and I'm biased in that sense. And I tried to recreate Forky, didn't I, ages ago? And even that looked a bit because it's so hard. Yeah, you have to have the time and patience to do it. But it's every little element. It's not even like moving your main focus. It's having to move the things in the background. It's everything. Just even like the squashes and stretches, essentially the turns. Even just like going, you say pause, you blink, that kind of stuff. You put in your hand on your side, you're up, your downs and that kind of stuff that's involved in it. You've got to think about every tiny little thing like that. Or you look. I wonder how many pictures were taken. Oh no, how many memory cards you have to go through to do. It's crazy to think about, but it's such a fine art, and things like this you just really truly appreciate, like how everything that was in that film was kind of built as a set, and that's how they worked with. It's crazy. Can I guess your score, birthday boy? Go on. I believe it's going to be a 10. You're absolutely right. I knew it. We needed a 10 at some point. We were getting so close. No, I can't not give it a 10 for how much I enjoyed it from the get-go, really, and just there's always the quality to come, and just every time I come back to it, it's enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. It's sort of like my dark sense of thing, but not too like over the top in terms of what it's going for. There's no blood or anything like that, or anything crazy. But it is just a sinister tone to it, but still kind of light-hearted in how it tackles it. Yeah. It doesn't dwell on things too much, and it's really fantastic. Can't fault it. Yeah, there's nothing to really nitpick at anything at all, to be fairness. To be fair, my 8.5 is not anything negative towards it. It's more just it's the genre. Okay. It isn't anything like fault in the film, really. It's just more a personal preference, if I'm completely honest. No, that's fine. That's fine. Just like you did, like from your heart, like I said before about Tenacious D. Doesn't mean that I don't value it and appreciate what the film is. It really doesn't. Okay, that's fair. So have you enjoyed your birthday special? I feel like it's been a good one. Yeah. We've kind of got things from different genres, I feel like. Yeah, like mine, which is like normally romance or chick flicks or
3 in a row type of thing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Maybe I need to be more diverse. We'll see.
Yeah, when it comes around to that. But
I think I've got one in my head that I want to cover already.
Okay.
So if you haven't already, obviously Paul's birthday is this week. It is the day after this airs.
Yep.
So wish him all happy birthday, likes, loves, give him all your kind words. He is the person who actually makes this podcast happen, not me. Because to be fair, it would be very much probably or like me drinking my tea, slurping if Paul didn't edit this to be sounding brilliant. So do give him all the love and support and appreciation that he needs on his birthday. He's also fantastic at doing our social media. Without him, we wouldn't have any platform. He messages people, he's out there, he's talking to anyone who will want to listen to us, basically. So if you do want to find us, just swoop into there.
You can go find us on the social media platforms of Instagram, Twitter, Threads, which is the new...
What's Threads? Oh God, I feel old. I have a Thread account, apparently, so if you do want to follow me, you can, but I don't post anything, so I'd follow the SP one.
And yeah, please do. And also TikTok. Yeah, it's very rare to post on there, except for the clips. But they are all under the handle SP_film viewers to find us on there. So do give us a follow if you're not already doing that.
Or comments or likes or any support or love is, and all your happy birthdays on this Friday coming.
Yeah.
Because we have got a very special birthday boy. Thank you so much as well, Paul, for picking all these films.
You're welcome.
I've really, really enjoyed them.
Yeah, so far, yeah.
I've really enjoyed talking to you, so I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to us ramble, because this is going to be a long one for anyone to listen to me talk. So maybe break it up.
We've got sort of the chapters in this.
Yeah, like a little cut point.
Yeah.
So it is easy to kind of come back to.
Yeah. But if you want to listen to some of our other episodes, you can do so over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and wherever else you get your podcasts from. And we also like to give a shout out to the patrons, of course.
Yes, thank you for your pick. I know technically Paul picked 2 with this one, but we've never really had a tie. So I think next time this ever happens, it will be down to me. To be fair, I never get a choice, so do it all the time and then I can actually get a pick. Because I don't really get, apart from my birthday, an option. But shall we run through our wonderful patrons, because they are amazing. So we've got Jonesy, our friend, who, if you haven't checked out The Lighthouse, well...
The episode we did, yeah.
Why aren't you looking at that and listening? Because it is fantastic that he brings so much value to that podcast.
Yeah, really good episode.
It's really strong. I've even actually listened to it, and I don't normally like listening to myself talk. But re-listening back and actually about that film, I think it's one of our best podcasts we've done.
I'm sure he'll be very pleased to hear that.
So you can follow him on social media. He is out there. He's under the handle Weight Loss Jonesy. If you haven't already followed him and liked everything he does miniature Warhammer. I said it right.
Yes.
I better get brownie points for that. And obviously discussing his weight loss journey on there too. So we've also got Mark from 100 Things We Learned from Film. He was very excited for the picks this time around. I always love the fact that he puts a comment on our Patreon as well.
Yeah. Well,
very much invested.
Yeah, it was sorry, Mark, that it didn't work out for you this time. You might still not be seeing Kubo, maybe, but...
Well, I feel like we've touched on it, so he has to.
Yeah, be like, what the hell? Why is it Coraline?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. It's still worth a watch, I'll say, for you to Kubo, but it's definitely not as strong as Coraline, I'm going to say. We've
got my lovely mum. Mm-hmm. We have Ben, who is still on his travels somewhere, I feel. Yeah. And he's from Film Vloggers, if you haven't already known, and they're travelling like the world, I feel. Yeah. Like, on a trip of a lifetime. And, I don't know, I feel like I'd be getting homesick by now.
Yeah.
But I'm such a home bird that that's just who I am. That's true. But it does look like they're having a fantastic time. I feel like it's one of those things where you just want to be in their suitcase for a bit.
Yeah. Isn't it some of the countries they're going to? Yeah, it looks really fun. And lastly, we have...
Nico. From The Good, the Bad and the Weird podcast. Yeah. And now the fact that I can say that, because I know what The Good, the Bad and the Ugly is. And he credited me. He appreciated the fact that I sat through that 3-hour-long film. And, you know, I'm applauded. So,
and he also said that we should check out the actual, the good, the bad, and the weird.
We should.
Because he said that there'd probably be things you like, but some things you probably wouldn't like. So it'll be sort of maybe like an interesting reaction from it. But I don't think it's as long.
As long as it's not as long. Is it? I'm guessing it's.
I don't actually know what's involved in it, so we'll have to actually read into the synopsis to see. But yeah,
it's funny that we keep saying their podcast and we don't even know what the film is. Since we're a film podcast ourselves.
Still many to see.
Yeah.
To be fair,
growing and learning together, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, that's it for this episode.
It's a wrap.
Thank you for listening all the way to the end.
Another year older, Paul.
Yeah.
How you feeling? Bones aching yet?
Not quite.
No?
Well.
Still a spring chicken?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. You're not too shabby.
Thanks.
Well, I hope that you have a wonderful birthday. Hope you've enjoyed talking to me.
Yeah, of course.
And
always do.
Hope you enjoy editing it.
Maybe not so much that, but...
Yeah. And we'll post loads of pictures of birthday celebration boy.
So thank you very much for listening to this episode once again. And we will speak to you next time.
When Paul's another year older. Speak to you next time.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.